Unity and division seem like two polar opposites, but they're actually the same word. Just different aspects of the same situation. So, somebody could drop out the sky, grab a mic and be like, "We need unity!" But everybody overuses this word. It's like one of the words, like freedom, is just overused to the point that it's like white noise. Like, what does unity actually mean? Do the people understand what it means? Obviously they do. That's not a problem. People come on that mic as if, and it's no disrespect or harm, I'm just trying to spread awareness to create some sort of meaningful change. That's my intention only here. My sole intention. Usually they're not an actual activist. Now, we know what we mean by that. But it's important to understand everybody's strengths and weaknesses and are okay to talk about it in a way that's just neutral, so that we can put everybody to work in the right places, in the right areas, doing the right things. So we're not asking people to do things they cannot do, and we're not expecting people to do things that they're not suited to. And I think this is very important if we're going to have any sort of meaningful change, which is certainly my intention. I'm not doing this for a show, I'm not doing this for a laugh. And I think it's quite obvious that a lot of people are. Not a lot of people, but some people are. And some people are definitely not. And it's very frustrating, but that is the way of it. Unfortunately, but it's such is life. So people come on the mic, and it's usually not an activist, and they would say, "We need unity," as if nobody's ever uttered the words before. As if all of a sudden we only needed this person to suggest that, and everything, as if by magic, clicks into place. Of course, that's just not the case. So, how do we actually achieve unity? Now, that's difficult. Me and others, I think we can achieve partial unity some of the time. So, some sort of temporary partial unity, like we've seen with the lockdown. Because why was that so? Why were we so united during the lockdown? To all these people that say, "Oh, they'll not let me speak about this, they'll not let me speak about that, they'll not let me speak about the next thing." Why were we so united during the lockdown? Because we had one subject that we stuck to, and that was it. That is why we were so successful. So everybody wants to go, "We need to talk about this, we need to talk about that, we need to talk about this." No. All these voices need to quieten a bit, and they need to decide what is priority and what effect it will have even mentioning whatever topic it may be. So certain topics, you lose 50% of the population right away. We'll try to bring people in, we'll try to build, we'll try to grow, not repel people for the sake of repelling people. It's usually people that they've not considered what they're going to say. They just feel like they want to say something, and it is obvious, that is what's happening inside their head. We can tell the difference between someone that's actually thought about something, someone that's repeating someone else who's actually thought about something, and someone that hasn't thought at all about that thing. You can tell right away. I think we need to cut the nonsense. There's a lot of childishness kicking about, and I think we can do a lot better. So every subject is that you tie in. It's okay everybody's saying free speech, but free speech is not free. Meaningful free speech is not free unless the people that are engaging in it have mutual respect. So free speech isn't free, and it only exists under the conditions. Otherwise it's not free speech, it's something else entirely. Every subject we bring in has the potential to alienate 50%, 7%, 10%, 12%, 22%, 80% of people. No matter how important you think it is to yourself, whatever that subject may be, I think we should keep it tight and try and replicate the accidental success that we all had during the lockdown. I think that's the best thing to do. Now, I'm not saying, it doesn't matter what I say. I'm just one guy talking into his phone. If you want to do a protest, go and do it. You don't need my blessing, just go and do it. If you really want to speak into a microphone, go and do it. But don't expect people to start listening to your crazy, sometimes crazy, theories that you've not thought about and expect everybody else to suffer that. They won't. That's fucking delusional. Nobody's going to put up with that. Stop. Get out of your different wee pockets of groupthink. You know, where your mates are not checking you and they're just allowing you to come out with abject nonsense and they're encouraging you and agreeing with you. Maybe even taking the piss out of you because you're ridiculous. Could be. But this is what they need to watch, because groupthink is not good. But we've seen what it's like in 2020, 2021, start of 2022, usually during the summertime. You get every person on the planet seeing a crowd, seeing a mic and think, oh, that's my turn for 50 minutes of fame or whatever it is they think it is. So you have to basically go at, no, look, you're not speaking, you're not speaking, you're not speaking, you're not speaking. Look, we've seen people do that in 2020, 2021, and they always do it at the most inopportune moments when somebody's halfway through their speech and you're like, well, obviously no, what kind of way is that to go about things? And I would give the mic to people, but under my own terms, at my own protests, when I felt it was suitable or no, or I just outright would say no. That's always the case. You're always going to get people that are like just mad divas that want to mic and your protest could be, say for example, about ULEZ, and the whole point about doing ULEZ, which is the most boring thing ever, right? But because it's so boring and there was hardly any sport happening at the time, the media jump on it, and because we forced them to jump on it, we invited them, we phoned them and says, look, come down, let's come to an event, let's get into this. And they came because it was so boring. There's nothing controversial about ULEZ. People don't like it. Very few think it's something to do with clean air, so they go along with it. And they do it anyway, and it's just obviously a cash generating situation, but actually increases emissions if anybody's interested. And the reason that we stuck to that was, I thought was dead obvious, was so that we could get the media involved. And then once we get a hold of the people that are coming through us able to advertise through the media, we could maybe keep a hold of them and bring them in a bit deeper. That was the plan, so we're thinking about things. But somebody come up to that protest and was starting to talk about something completely unrelated that was controversial, and it just like, it's just pointless trying to work with these people, to be honest. You know, there was 3 people that day, in all fairness. One of them was media trained, one of them actually was a journalist, and who walked up to the journalists that we had invited and started trying to disinvite them. And I was like, so at the time I only get told half a story, just embarrassing this from a guy that pretended to be a journal or was actually a journalist, but regardless, he never advised us in any way on how to get the media involved, even though he was saying that was his job, which I would publicly say that's doubtful, because I did ask him. I was about to say his name there. Just gave away his gender. I did say to him, I was like, how do we get more press at these things? Crickets. I'm still waiting for an answer, so I ended up just picking up the phone one day, me and many others, and we just phoned like different press outlets and asked them to come, and do you know what he said? No problem, we'll be there. Pfft, that easy. So things are just, is more easier than you'd think, and you do get a lot of people wondering how people achieve things, because they just go out and do it. Everybody's too busy with both thumbs up so far up their backside that their vision's starting to be affected. Like, you can just go out and do whatever you want and see if people work with you, especially people that don't tell lies and don't fob you off by saying, I'm not going to speak about this, and then end up speaking about it and all that nonsense, and then claim everybody else. See, all that's just nonsense, and they people just get dropped a hot brick. There is a power in sticking to the one subject. As Conor McGregor says, singleness of purpose, that's what gets things done, that's what gets results. There's a lot of people that would try and distract us So they would have us talking about anything from potholes to chemical warfare in the sky to, I don't know, people that live in different realms. I can't say I disagree with any rabbit hole or any type of topic, but what's practical, guys? What is practical? Do you really want to be known as like the mad tinfoil hat guy down the street when you don't have to be honest? We've all been called that, right? Because we've all woke up back in 2011 at the latest, or a lot earlier obviously, but we don't have to be. I mean, we every prediction we've made, not every prediction, that's nonsense, but you know what I mean, a lot of what we have said over the last 20 years has been very accurate. So there's a lot of people come up to me like, oh, we were saying this back when we were teenagers, and I was like, aye, it's unfortunately some of that is happening, aye. And it's all throwaway comments I've said years ago that I've forgotten about. But I do think if you're going to have some sort of temporary, partially united force, the biggest enemies of that is the divisives. So there's no any way that you can placate the divisives. They're just going to divide. They're just going to keep dividing. Any appeasement is taken as kindness for daftness and kindness for softness, and it's no working. So that is just unfortunately the way it is. And the only thing you can do is stop inviting them. How do you stop inviting them? They'll just find out anyway. They'll only find out if you fucking tell them. Now if you don't tell them, they're not going to find out, and everybody will just get cut out. And it may take another 6 years, but it'll be a slow process, because you can't create unity with people that are trying to divide you. So you need to cut it out like a cancer. And that's what you need to do. Because they'll say to you, when you speak to them, they seem very pleasant when you speak to them. They almost seem as if they could be somewhat intelligent on a Tuesday. And you ask them things and they say, no, we will not do this, and it's all very reasonable, but when push comes to shove, they actively do the opposite. And dialogue over half a decade, you can't continue doing the same thing and expect different results, because obviously that's insanity. So we have to do something different. We've put up with them, we've given them a mic, we've done this, we've done that, we've invited them to things that in the past and whatever. We've tried to work with them and reason with them. That doesn't work, so now we try something else.